Some facts I was intended to mention and forgot along the way. One, Mennonite Amish family in-law Dave Hauser raised a Danny, reading a lot of books beyond his age level that Dave thought of to read. His rearing has been pretty idiosyncratic. Pseudo-intellectually, you don't read War and Peace at about 9. Went to college in Georgia to be a marine biologist. Danny did. Because there was a talk obsessed with me by my uncle, disowned Ed Horton. By the time we went to a seafood restaurant, and I kept the lobster shell at about 2 or 3 years old. Studied about lobsters in my encyclopedia. Was told that it was going to stink. I was too interested in it. I said, when it starts to stink, I'll throw it away, and it did. Inspired me to be a marine biologist, but then met a Peter Gabriel affiliate, if it wasn't Peter Gabriel himself, as a philosophy teacher, that as Danny put it, and it wasn't psychopath, with his Coca-Cola addiction, while being operated by a one named Ozzy Osbourne, by doppelganger phenomena, began to be an abuser of smack and loved it. Influenced him to be disenchanted with Christianity. He told me one day when we went to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, while he was wearing Kurt Diesel's spandex pants to be a Van Halen, I don't know, lookalike or something, that I would never wear. It taught him that people can make up their own logic. Changed his mind because he loved smack while addicted to Coca-Cola. And he said that wasn't psychopath. Changed his major to be a pharmacist with a new interest in drugs. Telling me that it must have been because of after meeting REM that he was an animal rights activist and wanted to respect the life of marine animals. He told me at a seafood restaurant one time when we were like 14 or something that he was going to move to Alaska to be a researcher of Alaskan king crabs because it was the market price. And don't you know the market price did it? Because I was ordering something cheaper that wasn't the market price. Like, you watched It's a Wonderful Life too much, and when George Bailey says, don't you know what coconuts are, stupid? I'm a member of the National Geographic Society. And during his junior high school education, that when you can't figure out your Rubik's Cube anymore because you use obsessive compulsive with a disorder about it, with nightmares, you can use a flathead screwdriver like I do in my non-official Rubik's Cube, I don't care about that one, and put it back together so you can start over again. So when the contract killer that was the accuser in my case in Yolo County of false accusations from when I went into the bathroom at a Quick Mart just to comb my hair for about 15 seconds, and a little boy with a cowboy hat tried to walk in, and I said, hey, little buddy, I'm in here, and shut the door. Right after me was a Danny Hauser doppelganger. All I had to do for cross-examination was follow my note, was to use Danny puzzles, and it worked. To actually have an impeachment of the only witness that was only the accuser in my case for allegedly saying fighting words as the charge. But there was prejudicial error, and I would have to effect that upon appeal if it wasn't thus far obstructed. And so it did work. He was inconsistent and contradictory in all of his testimony. A second thing to mention, additional fact, detail. I was told by a fellow warehouse worker that lived in Bay Village, along with a former musician that had performed along with Trent Reznor, and that he knew because of living in Bay Village. The musician's name was Dave Soleil, who became a percussion professor at Cleveland State University. And as I mentioned, Trent was a nightclub performer, impressionable upon a flock of seagulls and so forth, with so-called troops. It is because he performs under the nomenclature of a troop name. But I was informed by this acquaintance that Trent Reznor was a so-called quote-unquote prick and can't keep any band members, and nobody ever wants to keep performing with him, and they all quit from him, which has been the history. He never keeps band members. There have just been at particular bookings musicians that he does 1 or 2 times fine, and they never persist with him. These frequented a bar called No Excuses in North Olmsted that was across from a mall. Its name has changed, but it used to be called the Great Northern. In any event, Perry Carey's is next door, across the street from Inc. Eats and Drinks, conspicuously nexus with the Reznors. Per discovery, a private sector organization called Downtown Sacramento Partnership has been formed since I arrived in this area with purposes and intent to be here only temporarily, and then illegally restrained with administrative harassments and by malicious intent. This as a conspiratorial front, per their real motives and intents, counter-purpose to the ulterior motive of their stated purposes, and counterproductive to actually commit genocide and reduce the population, which has been happening in the area, as I have observed. It's obviously been happening and centrally targeting this figure in the same conspiracy for past assertions of previous intelligence by flattering and bribes of capital to start businesses, no matter how pharisaical, feigning to intend to promote excellent development, have deceived gullible people in order to seduce them into collusion in their occultic organized crime organizations. The effort has been really a total fiasco. The area has really degenerated through the years, boring, with all kinds of obstructions and obstacles to the general welfare. For example, such as I have reported, along with guerrilla warfare of gang harassment, the nexus with this organization and other local agencies, creating obstacles that defy normal ordinance at every other place that I've ever been at, has accumulated through the time, making it less and less and less and less and less livable. There are other such really bad business ideas that have been being built, matching what I have experienced to be Italian mafioso Guido behavior in the economy, being very infantile-minded and economically incompetent and extremely pharisaical, exhibited by like Jerry Lewis and so forth, and Sammy Davis Jr. singing Candyman with their very delusional worldview outlook. I've seen them ruin places before, like Beaver County, Pennsylvania. Original home of the Second family that was connected with aforementioned grandfather that has been being called Grandpa, nexus with the mafia, probably as a foot soldier, which was kept behind the back as a child and growing up, with the local Sickones, because his stepfather that married his mother that immigrated to the United States before he did was a Patrina, and they reside in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. I am no blood relation with at all. However, without me being able to help it at all, one Joseph Patrina was my so-called godfather when, although baptized according to their wishes, I am not Roman Catholic, and this is completely irrelevant to my life, although they intend to usurp some kind of obligation upon me in lieu of this. In any event, Perry carries his
we like audiences to sit down and listen to us.
And we write the words, the music, the arrangements, all democratic.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes, quite often. About 5, 6 or 10 times a week.
And in those days, no one really liked us, apart from the Italians, so the more time we could spend there, the better, the more we were cheered up.
Fantasy, I think.
Where do you take the inspiration?
Dove trovate l'ispirazione per i vostri testi? Quasi sempre l'ispirazione ci viene dall'anima.
So what we do is we check out the reading of the song.
Di qui, dalla lettura dell'anima che ascoltiamo con un orecchio.
1972 witnessed a turning point in the